أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وجعل منها زوجها ليسكن إليها فلما تغشاها حملت حملا خفيفا فمرت به فلما أثقلت دعوى الله ربهما لئن آتيتنا صالحا لنكونن من الشاكرين. Respectful honorable friends, continuing with the same verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ, that it is He who created you from a single soul, وَجَعَلَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا, and He made a spouse from there so that He, referring to Adam al-Islam, could find comfort with her. And it is on this point of لِيَسْكُنَ إِلَيْهَا that for the last couple of weeks, fair few weeks now, we've been doing in quite detail the various teachings of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, which will enable a husband and wife to find this comfort in their marriage. And as I mentioned to you at the beginning of this sequence, that marriage is a very important institution. The manner in which two individuals gather and join and become one, this relationship, this bondship, and the importance on it for both the husband and wife, children and society as a whole. Because where there is a healthy and pious relationship between the husband and wife, the household is also going to be healthy, the environment within the home is going to be healthy as well. And this in return will have an effect on the children. It will affect and has a bearing on the upbringing of children. And where husband and wife are at ease, children are also at ease. And where the children are at ease and where the correct tarbiyah takes place, then society is at ease as well. This is why marriage is so important. But unfortunately, there are many couples who regard marriage to be something that is destructive or something that has destroyed their lives. And this is due to one of two reasons. One is that we haven't practiced or understood the various teachings of our deen and our shariat pertaining to the rights of husband and wife, referring to many of the things or those ahadith that we have already covered up to this stage. And the other is, which is something that is understandable, where there is no compatibility between the husband and wife, and where naturally there is no compatibility between husband and wife, without any relaxation or neglect pertaining to their rights. It is just a natural thing that there is any compatibility. That is something that is understandable in Deen and Islam. Now Shariat has also kept a door open for that, how they can then exit this marriage. But most of the time, the quarrels and the differences we have between the husband and wife is due to them not understanding the rights of one another or fulfilling the rights between the two. Now, in order to continue and try and finish this sequence of talks on husband and wife, and I presume also with it being late Isha now, we will probably need this session and another one as well. Continuing from the hadith that I had mentioned to you in last week's tafsir of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu ta'ala an, when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned that la yahillu lil mar'ati an tasumu wa zawjuha shahidun, that it is not halal for a woman to fast, referring to the nafal fast, whilst her husband is present. Now, we had done this in detail last week. The other section, the other part of the same hadith is إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ وَلَا تَأْذَنْ فِي بَيْتِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. This is the part that we want to speak on today. The Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions two things. One is that she should not fast, referring to the nafal fast, but with the permission of the husband. The other is Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that she should not allow وَلَا تَأْذَنْ فِي بَيْتِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ, that she should not allow anyone in the home but with the permission of the husband. Because we're now doing the rights of the husband. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that the wife, she should not allow anyone in the home without the permission of the husband. And in another narration of Tirmizi, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam explains it further, wherein the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala asked that, is there any rights of the wives or upon us, or our rights upon them? When Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned, and in this sequence he even mentioned, that the women folk, they should adhere to the fact that they should not allow anyone to sit on your bed, to trample your bed, or that nobody should enter into the house or should not allow into the house one who the husband dislikes. So Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam elaborates more on this. That she should not allow someone to trample on your bed who the husband dislikes, or to enter into the house who the husband dislikes. And in the earlier hadith, Nabi Kareem mentioned that she should not allow in the house anybody without his permission. Now this with regards to trampling the bed, we may not understand this fully, but there are those parts of the world, and those who have been to India, Pakistan will understand this fully, that their homes are not like our homes, that you actually go and you have a lounge, a sitting room where there is settees and sofas where people sit on. But most of the time, the same room that they sit in is the same room that they sleep in. So most of the time, if you go to somebody's house, you go there, there's beds there. So you're actually sitting on a bed. You'll be aware of this in Pakistan and other places as well, that you're actually sitting. So the bed is used for sleeping and for sitting as well. This is what Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, that do not allow that bed for somebody to come and sit on or enter into that house, who, meaning the wives, they should adhere to not allowing that person into the home who the husband dislikes. And that could be any family member of his or any family member of the wife. That whoever he dislikes entering into the home, or it may even be any of her own friends. The husband dislikes their companionship, then he has full rights to prevent them from entering into the home. And when this is the case, then the wives should adhere to this and not allow such people to enter within the home. And a prime example of this being implemented is that of Sayyidina Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha, one of the Azwaj Mutahharat, one of the beloved wives of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Habiba, she was the daughter of Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan, who later on became radiallahu ta'ala an. And Abu Sufyan was one of the leaders of the Quraysh, and one who for over 20 odd years was an arch enemy of Islam and of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was behind most of the expeditions, the wars after Badr, always cutting something or the other against the Muslims. His daughter was Habiba, and she was the sister of Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Now she was married to a person by the name of Ubaidullah bin Jahash. And Ubaidullah bin Jahash, who was a Muslim, and her name was Ramla. Her actual name was Ramla. So she and her husband, they were part of those who had migrated to Habsha, to Abyssinia. And while she was there in Abyssinia, one night she saw a dream, and in that dream she saw that the features of her husband had totally, completely changed. She became very disturbed and perturbed by this. And not long after that, what had happened is that this Ubaidullah bin Jahash, he would frequently go and sit with a disbeliever, a Christian. And because of that communication with him, he reverted and went back to his old religion, and he became a murtad. He became murtad. And this was the interpretation of her dream. So he became a murtad, and not long after that, he died as well. So Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha, she was left all alone in Abyssinia. One is facing this fact that her husband had become murtad, the issue with regards to her marriage, and then not long after that he died in this state as well. And she was totally alone in Habsha. And on top of that, her father was against her as well because she had become a Muslim. And this had been eaten away at him. It was while she was in this condition and this news reached Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam had sent a message to Najashi, the leader, the king of Ethiopia, of Abyssinia. And he sent a message to him that if he can act on behalf of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Nabi Karim proposed in marriage to Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha. Sayyidina Habiba radiallahu ta'ala mentioned that she was, in a state of despair of what had happened with regards to her husband and her loneliness there in Abyssinia. She says all of a sudden somebody knocked on the door, and when I opened it there was a slave girl. And this slave girl came to me and said that Najashi has sent me with a proposal, and the proposal is from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that do you accept or not? She said, when I heard this, you cannot imagine my immense pleasure and joy at this proposal. It says that the clothing she had, she removed that, and she had a ring, and she gave that in happiness and joy to this slave girl, and she said that she accepts. And on that then she had appointed Khalid bin Sa'id radiallahu ta'ala, who was a cousin of hers, to act as her wali. And he was her wali, and accordingly Najashi himself performed the nikah of Nabi Karim sallallahu ta'ala sallam with Sayyidina Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha. Khalid bin Sa'id radiallahu ta'ala, she had appointed him to be her wali, and he had represented her, and the nikah took place in the 7th year of Hijrah. And then Najashi had sent Sayyidina Habiba radiallahu ta'ala with Sharahabil ibn Hasr radiallahu ta'ala to Medina, to Munawwar, to Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is just the background of how they had got married. When Abu Sufyan, when he was told of this, that Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has married Habiba and he's proposed to her, even he who was an arch enemy of Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he heard this news, he himself rejoiced and said that this is good news. This is good news. As the proposal of Muhammad is not one that should be rejected. So even he knew of the character of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he himself says that it isn't a proposal that can be rejected. So even he was in joy with this. And now coming to this hadith. And that is that on one occasion Abu Sufyan was traveling to Sham. And on the way, the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala had ambushed him and his companions. However, Abu Sufyan managed to escape from there. And when he escaped, he came to Madinah Munawwara, and he he came into the home of Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha, the home of his daughter, saying that, look, they are after me, if you can just give me some refuge in your home. When he came there, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had just departed from that home, due to which the bedding of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam was still there in its place. So Abu Sufyan radiallahu ta'ala, he came, and at that time he was just about to sit on the bed of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and said Habiba radiallahu ta'ala quickly pulled it away from him. She pulled it away so he could not sit on it. To which Abu Sufyan said to her that, what is it, Ramla? Do you find me not worthy of sitting on this bed? To which she said, this is the bed of the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and no mushrik is worthy of sitting on this bed. To which Abu Sufyan himself had said that he did not expect that you would have changed to this extent. Didn't expect that you have changed to this extent. This exact implementation of this hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was the arch enemy of Islam. Nabi would have disliked him being there. And this is how she practiced upon it. That when she went to sit on the bed, she allowed him in the home, knowing that, look, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has even given a mention that, look, if your parents are non-Muslims, then you should still do the same ikram of this as you would have done before just the way a person did before Islam. So due to this, she allowed him in the home. But then when he came to him, he was actually sitting there on that bedding. Then Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha took that bedding off from him and did not allow him to sit on it. So this is the implementation direct of this hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that do not allow somebody to trample your bed or enter into your home who the husband dislikes. On this incident of this marriage of Sayyidina Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha, where some of you may have picked up that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not present there when Najashi had performed the nikah, because Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Madinah Munawwara. So he had appointed there Najashi to act on his behalf. And Sayyidina Habiba radiallahu ta'ala anha had appointed Khalid bin Sayyid radiallahu ta'ala as her wali to act on her behalf. And this way Najashi had performed the nikah for 4,000 dinars. And after that the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala got up to leave, and that's when Najashi had mentioned to them, no, stay over and have something to eat. As it is the sunnah of the prophets to have a dawat after the nikah, a walima after the nikah. So he then himself fed the people, the king himself. Which shows us how nikah takes place when people are not present, or both or one of the two are not present. Because Islam has made nikah very simple and easy for us. It isn't a complicating issue or complicating matter. Unfortunately, it is us that we have made nikah something very difficult to perform. We have complicated it ourselves. Here Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, great simplicity. It was this case of the message was, proposal was sent. She had accepted it, and immediately Khalid bin Sayyid she had appointed him to the wali. He went to Najashi, and there the nikah was performed with such ease. And this is how nikah should be done. That nikah should be done easily. Unfortunately, here we're talking about marriage and the disputes and quarrels and the reasons and the things that leads towards such disputes and quarrels within families. But unfortunately, there's a huge group of people who do not even reach the stage of marriage. The reason being is because we have complicated nikah and marriage to such an extent, and that we have made it so difficult. And because we have made it so difficult, it's for many youngsters, it is something that is beyond their means. It has become beyond their means for them to marry. That is how it has become. That it is beyond their means for them to get married. And just the way financially we have to plan so many things, marriage has also become one of those plans. A 5-year plan, or even a 10-year plan. It is only after working for 5 years will I be able to pay for the wedding. for wedding arrangements, on the hall and the catering, as well as all the other parcels and all the other gifts and all the other janas, all the sona chani, all the gold and silver and all the other things that comes with it. That it is a plan of 5 years working and toiling, then we will only be able to afford that. Nowadays it is a case of working for so many years just to be able to afford the Meher Fatimi. Afford the Meher Fatimi. Because at the moment it is a case of, and this is how we are. When it suits us, we want to make amal upon the sunnah, and when it doesn't, we don't want to hear about the sunnah. When it suits us, we want to make amal on the sunnah, and when not, we don't want to know sunnah. So at the time of nikah, we won't make amal on all the sunnahs of nikah. We'll do so many other things, but one sunnah we fully make amal upon, and that is currently now. With the price of gold being so high, so, and people have now understood and realized, look, Meher Fatimi is how much? It's over 1,000 pounds. Now that it's over 1,000 pounds, so no, whatever happens, Meher Fatimi. We want Meher Fatimi. So if we want Meher Fatimi, and that is the Meher that Nabi Karim Sallallahu, there's two mehers. One that Nabi Sallallahu gave to the Azwaj Mutaharat, and the other is that he gave to Sayyid Fatima. So if we want the Meher Fatimi, making amal upon that, then remember the nikah of Fatima as well. Then have a nikah like Fatima as well. The Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there were few Ansar Sahaba who were present. Nabi Karim Sallallahu called for Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala, and he said to Sayyidina Ali that I wish to give Fatima in nikah to you. I wish to give Fatima in nikah to you. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala, or in some riwayat mentioned that Ali himself came and said that he had this in mind. Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked him that what do you have? Meaning what do you have to give in meher? Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala mentioned that he has nothing but just an armor and a horse and that. Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to him, keep the armor and sell the horse or the camel. So he went and he sold that off, then he came, and Nabi said, sell that, then come. And then when he came with whatever he had with him, the Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said to him, call so and so, and he called for a few Ansar Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala. And there and then Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam performed the nikah of Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu ta'ala with Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala. And then the following evening, Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took Sayyidina Fatima and dropped off at the house of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala. With such great ease and simplicity. So if we want Meher Fatimi, then have Nikah Fatimi as well. So very soon, there one side we want all the lavish and all the everything else that goes with it. But here now, because Meher Fatimi is so high in amount, so because of that we want to make amal on Meher Fatimi. Whereas prior to that, when people encourage Meher Fatimi is something good, it's to make amal on Meher Fatimi, in case of no, they weren't wanting. And for some reason, our Hindustani special, they were just fixed on that 152 pound. They were just fixed on that. Yeah, 152. Something they brought from overseas. We just fixed on that, not wanting to know Meher Fatimi at all. But now that Meher Fatimi is so high, it's a case of everybody wants Meher Fatimi. Everybody's talking about Meher Fatimi. So as I mentioned to you, if you want Meher Fatimi, then have Nikah Fatimi as well. And one point on this, I mentioned this previously as well. And that is what Sheikh Yunus Jompuri Rahmatullahi Muhaddis Asr, he mentioned a beautiful point when he came recently at a nikah. And that nikah, the nikah was for Meher Fatimi. And he mentioned a point, and that is he knew how much, when he saw the Meher Fatimi is so much in pounds, in money wise, he himself mentioned that look, when times are such that Meher Fatimi is so high in number, then it isn't something that is necessary that you have to fix Meher Fatimi. But rather it's a case of rather move away from Meher Fatimi, because by fixing Meher Fatimi, you're making it difficult for people to become married, to get married. Because along with all the other expenses, now to have to put forward over 1,000 pounds just for the meher, over 1,000 pounds for the meher, this isn't in every person's means. We all know it's not, it isn't easy. It is a lot of money. So now by insisting on having Meher Fatimi, we are also making it difficult for people to become married. So this is how we become. So where it suits us, we adopt the sunnah, and where not, then we forgo the sunnah. So already from the meher itself, we've made him so difficult. First is the case of now, when the boy and girl say yes and they've agreed to one another, never mind that, even just saying yes, we have complicated that to such an extent as well. We have complicated that to such an extent. Here Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw that Ali was good. Sayyidina Ali knew the character of Sayyidina Fatima. This she is the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything on the apparent looked good and that was fair enough. Did Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam do istikhara? Nabi Kareem didn't do istikhara. Did he tell Sayyidina Ali to do istikhara? There was no need for them to do istikhara at that moment. And this is despite the fact that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us to do istikhara. He's taught us the dua of istikhara. And he's mentioned to us the importance of doing istikhara in such matters where a person wants to seek guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But here there's no mention of any istikhara taking place. And at the same time, where Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam with regards to istikhara has mentioned that when there is an important matter to do istikhara. But unfortunately we have attached istikhara with nikah. Whenever there is a for nikah, istikhara is imperative. And if there is no istikhara, then that marriage is doomed. This is how we regard it. You haven't done istikhara, you can't get married without istikhara, you have to do istikhara. Whereas there is no istikhara with any other matters in life at all. But with nikah only there is istikhara. And we are so fascinated, or we are so attached, or we believe so much in this istikhara that people do not want to move forward at all without doing istikhara. This is how we have become. And this again, with the tons of emails that I get, in this for some reason or the other, and I've chased it back somewhere on some website, somebody has put my name and attached that to dreams and istikhara as well. So since then, just been bombarded with these istikhara and dream emails. Sabko mein ye kehta, just tell them all, look, I'm not a dreamer. You know, we live in this world. I'll give you fiqhi masail and I'll give you mashwara with regards to what we do in this world. Not about dreams. For dreams, go to dreamers. There is a position of dreams in Islam as well. But it is a limited matter. Unfortunately, there are some who believe so much in dreams that everything for them is just dreams. They see the most weirdest of things and they want an interpretation of it. Obviously the night before, if you've been watching some strange movie, if some very strange characters and cartoons in it, then definitely for sure you're going to see a weird dream that night. You're going to see all funny things. You've got all sorts of things on your mind, you're going to see all sorts of dreams as well. And that doesn't mean because you see some funny dream and now you remember that in the morning. Some people think that because normally I don't remember any dream, but because they remember this dream, there must be something about it. So because that it means that the following day I need to ask, and they ask as an urgent question. It comes as in the subject urgent. And what is that? I dreamt of a cat, I dreamt of a dog, I dreamt of all sorts of mind-boggling things. All weird things. You could probably just make a movie out of their dreams. The reply to that is that it's probably the dream that you saw and that's all you're dreaming of. So people become so fascinated with istikhara in dreams that they don't want to move forward at all without istikhara. And there's some people who've been making istikhara for, believe it or not, for 2 years they've been making istikhara. They're still not getting married just because they can't still understand the istikhara. Spend your whole life trying to do your weird dreams, you can try and understand your weird dreams, you're not going to understand those weird dreams. You'll never get married. So this isn't the case. Istikhara is there for when a person is in two minds with regards to a matter, where you can't make your mind up. It is then that you make istikhara. Otherwise, in a matter wherein, look, the boy is good. And this is what Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned, that look, when the character and a good proposal comes, then accept it. So if the boy is good, the girl is good, the families are fine, meaning whatever we can see seems good to us and the parents, that itself is sufficient for us to go ahead with it. Otherwise us, we do the same. If there's a Nabi one side and a Nabi this side and they're trying to want to get married, we'll probably want to go and do istikhara there as well. What need? There's no need for istikhara at that time. It is when maybe a person has two proposals and both the proposals are good. There are two individuals that a person, boy has been told about two girls, or the girl has been told with regards to, or inquiries have been made from two different families. And both are very similar. The person is not sure which one to go towards. That is justifiable for a person to make istikhara at that time. or where a person is unsure with regards to how that individual is. But otherwise, if things on apparent seems fine and good, do not make istikhara and go ahead with it, because if you make istikhara, you get even confused. And this is what happens. And the purpose of istikhara is not to give us a definite success or not. So many times they give this dream and say, we want to know that does this mean that the marriage will be success or not. It doesn't mean anything like that at all, that the marriage will be successful or not. This istikhara cannot tell you whether your marriage will be successful or not. And if a person does do istikhara, where he does come towards incline towards the positive, it means the nikah is fine in going ahead with nikah. But this does not mean that the nikah is going to be successful. There are many who later on have got divorced, but they have made istikhara as well. That is because it was meant for them to go through this path of marriage and then divorce. So it's not a case of, well, I made istikhara and then what happened then? The istikhara they did was fine in this place. But that was what was meant for them to happen, so that is going to happen what was meant for them to happen. Istikhara is just there so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala settles the unsettled heart. And istikhara, the purpose of istikhara is so that the heart becomes settled on a positive or negative aspect. And it isn't necessary that a person has to see a dream in the istikhara. There are times wherein a person may see an indication in a dream. And with all these funny dreams coming about, asking for interpretations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have not seen this in any kitab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just placed this in my heart to reply by saying that, look, and this is my opinion, that if a person makes istikhara for a matter, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give an inclination or indication by means of a dream, then I do not think that that dream would need an interpretation. Don't think it would need interpreting. It will be a clear dream. It won't be a mixed up dream or a confusing dream. It would be a clear dream. Otherwise, where are people going to find people to interpret the dreams? That itself is going to complicate it. The people get to do istikhara, they see dreams and there's nobody then to interpret the dreams, then where are they going to go? So it would have to be something that is clear cut for them. And if a person is madly in love with somebody, or in their minds or in their hearts they've already settled somewhere, they've already made the intention that, look, this is the girl that I want to get married to. And this is what happens. Where the boy and girl are in love with one another, and maybe the parents are advising them that, look, this may not be the perfect match for you. And then, in order to last resort, they might say to them, okay, never mind, let's make istikhara. So now what happens is the boy and girl makes istikhara. So now in this way, when their minds and hearts are set and firm on who they want to get married to, and that's it, summum bukmun umyun. That's it, deaf, dumb and blind. That's it, that's all we want to get, that's the only person we want to get married to. Then when they make istikhara, at that time, the reality is what, dear friends, you're only going to see that person. And then you'll dream what you'll dream. You'll even dream Sayyidina Jibreel coming and making your nikah and performing your nikah with that person. That's what you're going to dream. Because when that person is if that girl is in your dream, you're going to definitely see only her in your dream. If that boy is in your dream, then you're going to only see that boy in your dream. And that's the only person that you're going to see in your dream. And the deep thing is, dear friends, I mentioned to you, there are people making istikhara, having 10 years of illicit relationship, now they're making istikhara. This is one question that came. 10 years, they had an illicit relationship, and now they made istikhara. In that istikhara, that this person sees a white cat. And now they're asking me what's the interpretation of the white cat. And then he replied back saying to that person that I am astonished that you are more concerned about that white cat rather than the 10 years of illicit relationship that you had with the person. Ask me instead about the relationship with that person that you had for 10 years rather than that white cat. They haven't responded back. Don't expect them to. So this is how we are. When it comes to this, then we want to make istikhara. And we continue doing all the other haram things. And then we meant, look, 10 years, there's no point making istikhara here. A relationship which has started off so wrong. That relationship, there won't be any barakat in such a relationship wherein the whole aspect of it is incorrect. If you want barakat in your nikah, then do things correctly. Have a halal, do things in the correct manner. Do things according to the sunnah, and then there will be barakat in the nikah. But we always complain that there is no barakat in our nikah. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself gives us the remedy and tells us how, if you want barakat in your nikah, inna azaman nikahi barakatan aysuruhu maunatan. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that nikah which has the most barakat. Azaman nikahi barakatan. The most barakat is the one in which the expenditure is the least. That nikah in which the expenditure is the least. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that holds the most barakat in it. But we think it's the opposite. That nikah is the best nikah which has the most expenditure in, wherein a lot has been spent. And if a lot has been spent, that it means that from the invitation cards to the food to everything else, everything should be lavish and extravagant. And then we regard that to be a successful nikah. But those are the same nikah that we find that in a short while the nikah breaks up. There's no barakat in such. That which is so simple and so easy for a person to complete. And this is how what Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had shown us. And this is how the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala mentions, Anas radiallahu ta'ala mentions in hadith of Bukhari Muslim, where on one occasion Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw on Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu ta'ala an asaru sufratin. He saw on him some signs, yellow dye on his clothing. And when he saw this, Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam had said to Sayyidina Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu ta'ala that ma hadha, men are not allowed this, what is this? To which he mentioned to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inni tazawwajtu imratan ala wazni nawatin min zahabin. You said Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu ta'ala said Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I've just got married to a woman for a meher of nawatin min zahabin is gold, piece of gold, the size of the date pit. The size of a date pit. And obviously dates are not the small dates, we have larger dates. On that I have performed nikah. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, barakallahu alayk, ulim walu bishatin. The Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned to him that very good, you've done it very simple in that, do a walima. Do a walima even if it is just a small goat. Even on a small goat, give and do a nikah. Here Sayyidina Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu ta'ala, who is from the Ashra Mubashara. Those people who Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given the glad tidings of Jannah. And he gets married in such a simple manner that never in others, even the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't aware that he's got married. If Nabi doesn't know that he has got married. In such simplicity, in such a simple manner, Sayyidina Abdul Rahman ibn Auf radiallahu ta'ala gets married. But then Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to him to do walima. But why to do walima? Not for the sake of feeding people. Not that they were hungry and they wanted to be fed. But the reason being is that one of the aspects of nikah is that nikah should be announced. Nikah should not be done in secrecy. Although if nikah is done in secrecy, nikah will be done. And this is everything. Our Gangna flows up the wrong way. Ultimately. Where there should be elan that we like these secret marriages. We want it discreet marriages. And there's a lot of these other secret marriages going on as well. Which are not the first marriage, these are the second, third, whatever marriages, secret ones. When Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that it should be open, the whole point is, Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, called Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, if it's not announced, in the bazaars and outside is not allowed, announced, nikah is not even valid. According to Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi. So if you are Malikis and all these secret marriages, you will come to an end. Put a stop to all these secret marriages. Elan is a condition for the marriage. As far as the case of that is how it should be done, that it should be done in a masjid. Where there are people, so people are aware that nikah has been done. And how was this made elan and how was it announced during the time of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam? That there were certain girls, young girls, who would actually sing some songs, some ashar poetry, without any musical instruments. And they would be brought, and this was the elan. Or it was a case of they would use the duf. And by means of the drum, the duf. In this way, there was that elan of there being nikah. And Nabi Kareem encouraged the usage of this as well. That where on one occasion Nabi Kareem said, Ansari young girl who had got married. Nabi asked with regards to her, that have you sent something over or not? To which she mentioned, yes, I have sent something over. which means that it shows us that it's permissible to give hadiah and to give gifts as well. It is permissible to give gifts as well. And when the person gives, remember, gifts is on the giver, whatever he wants to give. So you should not put any specific clause that we don't want any box gifts. Look, it's permissible. They want to give, they can give. They don't want to give, it's up to them. It's on the giver whatever they want to give. But the giver must give what is most appropriate at the time as well. So in this way, Sayyidah Aisha asked her if she had sent something over or not. She mentioned, I've given something in a gift. So this shows us that it is permissible. Because sometimes we have some people on other extreme want to make everything najais. Want to make everything najais. That, oh no, this is also wrong, giving wedding gifts. That you shouldn't be, where does the wedding gifts come from? So here it shows when Nabi Sallallahu told us, I asked Aisha, did you send a gift over or not? So this is sunnah as well. And then when Aisha mentioned that she had sent something over, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu then even says to her, but why not, didn't you send a young girl over to entertain them? To entertain them, to sing some ashar, and they would sing, and this was the custom in the Arabs, some poetry in remembrance of the fallen ones, the martyrs, those who were brave at time of war, during those who fought in the battle of Badr. They would be praised and they would be remembered in these songs of theirs. So this was something that was encouraged by Nabi Kareem Sallallahu, and where there was no duf, Nabi Sallallahu encouraged and said, no, have the people with the duf there, so the nikah should be announced. Now remember, take this in perspective, that this was just the duf. And these girls would be singing ashar which were permissible ashar. So this is what is permissible. And although we may think that, look, this is not, we do not have this sunnah anymore, and somebody now thinks, oh no, let me start this sunnah, just leave it the way it is. Otherwise that will open up to what we already have. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu is not saying get a whole band baja there. So the whole area society knows that there is a shadi in the whole band baja, and they all have all sorts of things happening there. And all the singing and dancing is going on there. This is what Nabi Kareem Sallallahu is not indicating towards that. So we make elan, this is how we make elan. That we have the entire band playing there and letting everybody know that there is a nikah. That there is a nikah. Or we want everybody to become aware of it by the manner in which how we invite so many people and make it so lavish and so extravagant. Just imagine where Nabi Kareem is mentioning this. And the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala who are getting married in such ease, in such manner, that even Nabi Kareem sallallahu is not aware of it. With so ease and simplicity, where Nabi Kareem is simply saying to Sayyidina Ali, go sell this, come back, you got the money, and we do the nikah. So with such great ease where the nikah takes place. But our case isn't that. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu here is saying to Sayyidina Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu ta'ala that just do a walima, even if it is just a goat. Even a goat, that is sufficient. You don't need to do something more than that. That is more than enough. Just sacrifice a goat and feed that to the people. This is enough. For what? For one day. As Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned as well. That is, first day is haq, second day is sunnah. So in this way, walima alone. For when? For just that one day or 2 days after to feed. There is no mention of all the meals, all the days before the nikah. And then all the days after the nikah. And this is how, as I mentioned to you, we have complicated it so much. We have made it something simple, so difficult. We've just made it difficult for ourselves. That a person now needs to earn and have so much money in order. And it's a case of the dawat is not just that on the day of the nikah, but the whole week, from a week beforehand. Come early. 2-3 दिन पहले से आ जाना. Come, your dawat is from, nikah is on Saturday, your nikah is from Tuesday. Tuesday you got dawat. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you got dawat. And Saturday night as well, you got dawat. So in this way what happens is, it's just continuous, and we just make it so difficult upon ourselves. The anxiety and the stress on how the food will be, not be, the guests come, will not come, and the expenditure, and all the other lavish that goes along with it. And all these things are for what? Just so to please people. The thing is that the reason we do these things is not because we've got a desire, we want to do it. It's just a case of we want to just do it in order to please people. And so that people will remember our nikah. Person will remember our nikah. And this is what happens. And the reality is, dear friend, and I mentioned this in one private meeting as well, that look, everybody wants to have such a marriage that people will remember. People will remember. Remember one thing. Everybody thinks that way. So if you're going to splash out 25 grand on your wedding, that it should be a memorable wedding, the next marriage in the family, they want to have one which is remembered as well. Our marriage should be remembered, a memorable one. So they're going to splash out 30 grand. The third one, they want theirs to be remembered as well. They're going to splash out 40 grand. Somebody else will go up to 50 grand. Because each one wants theirs to be remembered. And this is what happens. They will outdo the nikah before theirs. So this nikah will be remembered. But it will be remembered only till that nikah. When that nikah comes and this is remembered, then that is forgotten. That is then forgotten. And this is reality. This is with everything. With every fame, name that you get. It is here now, it won't be tomorrow. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself mentioned in the hadith that Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's camel, Kaswa, was very fast. And whenever Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would race with Kaswa, nobody could beat the camel of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. However, on one occasion, a Bedouin, he came with a camel. And his camel was between the age of 6 and 2 years old. And his camel actually beat the camel of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In the Sahaba Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they would actually race with one another on their camel. So in this race, this Bedouin, his camel actually won the camel of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When this happened, the Sahaba actually became saddened to this. It was against all bets, against all the odds. They became saddened here that the camel of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has been beaten. And they became very disheartened to this. To which Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself said to them that look, there is no need to become disheartened. Because Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, whatever Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala has elevated will then be lowered as well. You have your days, your glory days, and then you don't. This is what Nabi Kareem said. The Qaswa had her glory days as well. But she's not going to remain top number one all the time. And this is in all aspects. You can't remain number one all the time. You had your days and then you're going to come down. And it's natural, obviously, when you're young, you're going to be the champion. You're going to be number one. You're going to be the best. But obviously, with age, you're going to now become old. You're going to become weak. You're going to become slower. You're going to become, there's going to be more competition. So there's one champion today, tomorrow another champion will come. So similarly, everything, beauty, there's beauty today, tomorrow the beauty won't remain the way it is. The beauty is going to come. There's somebody who's number one in beauty today, tomorrow there's going to be somebody else. This is what Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions. So the marriage today may be one that people will talk about, that it was so extravagant and there was this lavish there and that. Later on somebody makes nikah, that will be remembered. Nobody is going to remember this one. That will be outbeaten by somebody else. This is how it will continue. So it's no point making nikah with that intention. So I had mentioned to this individual, where you go totally against this. And whatever trend you have in your family, go totally against that and make your nikah as simple as possible and according to the sunnah. And if you do that without spending this amount of money, your nikah will always be remembered. That nikah will always be remembered by everyone. Because where they are used to all the types of marriages that we do have, in such a family, if now a person makes a nikah totally different to that, people may not like it either, but that nikah will always be remembered. So your nikah will actually, if you want it to be unique and for the sake of people, and if you do it this way, your nikah will always be unique. And they will remember. And even though they may not like it, why they do not like it? Because of what is in the minds of people. But then when there is a nikah in their family, and when they're looking at the cost and the bills of it being in so much thousand and that's when they'll remember, look, so-and-so did very good. So-and-so did a very good thing. He must have probably didn't come anywhere near the total that we are imagining at this moment. So in this way, we have made our nikah so difficult. Of the amount that we just spend on on all the arrangements with regards to nikah. And it is because of this that we find many people have long reached and past the age of nikah, and they still can't get married and do nikah. Nikah is something that is, Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala, our Deen and Shariat has made very easy for us to do. Simple thing, ijab and qabul, acceptance in the presence of two witnesses, and that is sufficient for individual. The khutbah and all the rest is part of it, which is sunnah. But even without it, it is so easy for a person to do nikah and whatever the meher is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very easy for us. In order for us to complete this iman of ours and for a person to come in nikah. So see here Sayyid Abdul Rahman bin Auf ta'ala anhu who got married to Nabi and Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't even aware of it. It was only because of these certain signs that he had this dye, the color of this dye that was there, that he saw this and he realized that Nabi Sallallahu understood that look, he's got married. Otherwise, Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam would not have known that he has even got married. So that's how easy and simple it is. When we are living in such times wherein we ourselves have made it so difficult, it is time that we now unwind things and try and make it easy again for us. And the reality is that all the amount that we spend on just a couple of days, it just is wasted away. That same amount of money, just imagine where 25,000 pounds, this is what we talk about. People are talking about such types of figures spent in marriages nowadays. Just imagine 25,000 pounds if that was kept and that was given to the family, to the husband and wife, to the boy and the girl. Just imagine with 25,000 pounds how much that would help them towards giving a deposit towards the home. Halal home they would be able to purchase with that. There's so much they could do with that amount of money instead of just being spent on pleasing other people. We pleased everybody else but the poor groom and bridegroom, they left with nothing at all. Their pockets are empty and their families are empty. And when everything now dies down, then it's the case of now, come on, get back to work, pay off the loans. They haven't got the money, so they even taking out haram loans for the sake of the marriage. Now how can there be barakah in the marriage? So now when everything dies down, it's a case of double shift, triple shift. The poor boy, he just got married now. No time to spend with his wife because he has to do double, triple shifts just to pay off the loan for the marriage. In this way, and this is what happens. And that time, prime time of his youth, where he should be enjoying his time with his newly married wife, bride. But now instead his young age, youth age is going working overtime, and that is killing the youth. And this is what happens. Majority of our youngsters, and I may complain of the many times, that so many of our youngsters nowadays are becoming old very quick. Although the statistics say that we're living longer, but we're becoming old so early as well. And that is because of the types of lifestyles that we live. The amount of pressure that we put on ourselves in order to fulfill the various demands and the demands that we have made. Because of that is the case of working all the time and all the strain and the stress of work and whatever else. This is killing people. It is destroying marriages. So many marriages have also been destroyed on the same very reason. That the husband before dawn, morning he's already out, and before late at night he's at home. No life at all with the family. Days on end, he's out of the house because he's working so many hours and he's doing so many shifts. He comes home and not long and he's gone for another shift as well. Why? Just because they want that house of theirs. They've got a mortgage, they've taken out on a house, and because he has to pay the mortgage off, fear of it being repossessed, so he's working after working, and what happens there? The husband does not get to spend his precious time with his wife, the wife doesn't see the husband. Children come in between and the children grow up without having seen the father seeing the children. Why? Just because of that, possessing my own home. My own home. And the reality is for most of us, we may have our names on it, but with the amount of loan that we've taken out and the amount of years it takes to pay it off as well, that the house does not belong to us, it belongs to the banks. We can't say I'm the owner, because until you don't pay it off, it doesn't belong to you. Default on a few loans, on a few repayments, and then you find then you'll know who it belongs to. Then you're not going to say it's my house. When they come to repossess, then always say this is my house, this is my house. It's not your house. It never was your house. It was still on their name until you don't pay it off. And we're going on my house, my house. Better than that is that person who's renting a property, or that person who's living even in a council house. That person is much better off than one who takes haram loan in order for his home. And when that is the case, and this is one of the reasons, dear friends. You might think, what is this to do with marriage? But this is one of the things that causes so much destruction in marriages. That when there is, for the sake of this house and all the things, fixtures and fittings and all the other stuff, comforts that we want in our homes, when we can't afford it, is a case of the husband works double shift and the wife has to also work. Until then, if all don't work, they can't pay off the mortgage. And it is because of that we find so much friction and enmity and hatred within the family. Quarrels in the family. So husband, he's so stressed with regards that. And if he loses his job, something happens and the wife is stressed as well. And remember that home in which the husband is at home and the wife goes out, guaranteed there will be destruction in that home. That is guaranteed. Guaranteed there will be destruction in that home. Because that is when, as I mentioned to previous, الرِّجَالُ قَوَّامُونَ عَلَى النِّسَاءِ, where Allah has made the husband the breadwinner and He's made him the amir. But the moment he is at home and the wife, and this is what happens nowadays, people are losing their jobs. The husband is left at the home and the wife, she is now the breadwinner. She is the one who goes out, and when she goes out and she is bringing now the food into the house, then automatically she regards herself to be the amir in the house. That you are living in my house. You are living in my house. You are eating my food. The husband, he never says to the wife that you are eating my food, because it's his duty, he has to provide for her. He can't say that. He has no right to say that, because it's his duty to provide for his family. The wife doesn't have to. But if she does, and when she does, then that's when she is going to say, look, this is my food that you are eating. So it's what? My way or the highway. My way or the highway. My way or highway. So it's either my way, you live in my way in this house. So where Allah Ta'ala has mentioned that, look, it is the husbands, they are the amirs in the home. And where we make the wives the amir, and Nabi mentioned that any hukumat, any government, any country, where the amir, the leader is a woman, they can never be successful. So same way here in the house, where the woman, if she becomes the amir in the house, and they can never be successful. And this is definitely what's going to happen. Because she is the one who's now doing the work of going out. And the husband, he is now, just the way you have full-time mothers, housewives, now you have house husbands, full-time fathers. And you'll see them around with the push chair and the milk bottles and the bag, all the whole kit. And they are going around and they're looking after the children whilst the wife is out. That doesn't mean that don't look after your children. It's a different case wherein he's helping out in the home. And he's feeding them and he's helping out when there is a need in the home. But majority of the time he's there because he's the full-time mother there. He's looking after the children, where the wife, she's the one who's going out and she goes to work. And then she's phoning the husband, I'll be late home tonight because I've got a meeting. And then she's coming 9, 10 o'clock at night in the home because she's got meeting after meeting, appointment after appointment. And he's there changing the nappies, he's cooking there for the children, feeding the children and putting them to sleep, bathing them and doing all the chores and works which a woman is accustomed to doing. Now when that husband, when he's now doing all these things, and he then sat there, and then his wife comes at 10 at night and that tells him, pour a cup of tea for me. I'm hungry. And tell me, is he going to be satisfied with such a life? Till a time, maybe. But then, for how long? A man is a man at the end of the day. And a woman is a woman. She herself can't withstand that pressure of society, of the outside world, because that isn't meant for her. So there is only a limit till when she can even bear that. After which, then she'll start complaining. There's only that much which the husband can bear of being in the homes. Although maybe our case might be different in this country, that the government has spoiled most of the men. They become accustomed and used to remaining in the homes most of the time. So they may not mind being in the home. But this is not how things should be. Anyhow, dear friends, I had another aspect, few other hadiths in mind to do today. I have this marriage, other aspect of marriage has sort of taken a lot of time. So it might be a case of another 2 sessions now. A lot of it, just a few hadiths I have in mind, but then obviously whatever else comes in mind, I can't control that. I can control the hadiths I've got in mind, but then the other things that come in mind, we can't control that. But here, dear friends, anyhow, when Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned this aspect, very, very important, that do not allow in the home who your husband dislikes, or do not allow anybody in the home without his permission. These are very, very important. We may think, how does this affect us nowadays? It affects us in different ways. And that is, you find that companionship and company is very, very important. At times, the husband may not be pleased with the company of his wife. With the company of his wife. The wife may say that, well, nobody comes in the house. Nobody comes to my house. But we live in such a society, such times. People don't need to come to our homes. They don't need to come to our doorsteps. Why? Because they're always there on our screens. Because they're always there on our screens, they don't need to come to our doors. So we don't have to ask them permission. They don't need to ask permission for them to enter into their homes. But they're always there. Every few seconds, every few moments, somebody's messaging, somebody's sending an email, somebody's tweeted, somebody what is the other. In this way, all the time, they're just there communicating with them all the time. So in this way, they are coming directly into our homes, bypassing the door. And what happens is, it is that which the husband does not like. That every so often, she's just on the phone with her friends. And this is how some of us take it. That where we told her, look, you've got 300 minutes or 600 minutes free, then it means that we must ensure that we make sure that we use 600 minutes. Why let it go for waste? So if you have 600 minutes free, it means that we must ensure till the last point, 5 hours and 59.59. Okay, now on there we'll stop. Make sure and ensure that we use up all the 600 minutes that are there. This is how we become, isn't it? My calculation a bit wrong. Anyhow, leave that for the mathematicians. This is how it is. That we insist on that. This again is part of this hadith. If the husband is not happy with the wife spending so much time on the telephone, or on these type of other things and social networking sites and things, the husband is not happy, pleased with her associating with certain friends of hers and certain people, the husband has full rights to prevent her from it. He has full rights to prevent the wife from such. And this is something that happens at times as well, that the wife, she might be fine, but it might be certain friends of hers who are always interfering in her marriage. It might be them who are enticing her, or they who are encouraging her to do wrong. And a lot of times this is what happens, where the wife, her mind is played with. And there are others who are now brainwashing her. There are others who are manipulating her, and now turning her against the husband. And Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has warned Jahannam and punishment for such a person. For that person who turns the husband away from the wife. And for that person who turns the slave away from the master. Where you'll have whether it might be, and this also includes the in-laws. Mean the family of the wife. Who at times, because of their personal dislike of the son-in-law, they now turn their own daughter against the son-in-law. Different matter that there is zulm taking place, there is oppression taking place, where they now turn helping her out, different matter there. But many times the husband and wife are pleased with one another. They're living how they're living, and there's no issues between them at all. But it is this outside influence that is there. And where there is such influence, it is totally permissible for the husband to stop his wife from even speaking to her own family members, where he feels but he should have shari proof on this, that they are now destroying the marriage, or they are meddling in the marriage. He has full rights to prevent her from even associating with them and speaking with them. That's how much rights Shariat has given. But that is not a mere suspicion. As Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions in hadith as well, that look, suspicion, shak, ghaira of a person, his modesty is when? It is when, for example, if a person sees his wife speaking with a stranger. So she has done something for suspicion to enter into his heart. That is valid. But where she has done nothing at all, she's in the home the whole time, she's done nothing at all, there's no signs or any indications, and then to merely have suspicion, Nabi says that this is wrong. That is wrong. He has no rights of having suspicion on her, where there is no signs of suspicion. So this mere suspicion is not good. No, I'm sure it must be your father. It's your father for sure. No, is that mother of yours? No, is that sister of yours? I know it's her. Whereas this is a mere suspicion. No. Where a person knows for sure that it is fully permissible for him to prevent her from associating this, all this will fall under this very same hadith, where the wife knows that my husband is not pleased with me talking with such a friend of mine, or such a family member of mine, that it's not permissible for her to speak to that individual without the consent of the husband. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the understanding of these issues and these matters, which will continue for Allah ta'ala wills next week inshallah. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ سُبْحَانَ رَبِّكَ رَبِّ الْعِزَّةِ عَمَّا يَصِفُونَ وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ.